Welcome back. On Monday night, US President Donald Trump warned that Russia and Syria about attacking Syria's Idlib province. And it is a warning that they have ignored. There are reports in the past few hours of Russian warplanes hitting civilian and rebel targets in that rebel stronghold of Idlib. CNN's Nick Paton Walsh is watching the situation, joining us now from London. And Nick, Idlib is, of course, the last major remaining rebel stronghold. Already hearing about these airstrikes to the west. How many rebel fighters are thought to be left in that region, and are there any avenues for civilians to escape at this point in time?
Well, there are thought to be tens of thousands of various militants in that particular area, but more importantly, upwards of 3 million civilians. Now, this has been, over the past years, the place from which rebel loyal Syrians have been effectively dumped or bussed by convoy from areas that the Syrian regime has retaken. So it's become increasingly crammed, frankly, of often innocent human life. But at times, too, it's fair to say, al-Qaeda-affiliated extremists. In fact, the US has himself said this is one of the largest havens for al-Qaeda since 9/11. But still, it is also the largest haven for innocent civilians trying to escape the fighting as well. And while these airstrikes have been continuing over the past years, this recent intensification appears perhaps troublingly to answer Donald Trump's tweet overnight, in which he warned of grave humanitarian consequences if the Syrian and Russian and Iranian forces amassed around that area of Idlib began as they've been threatening to move in. He said this should not be allowed to happen. They should not, quote, recklessly attack it, and warned that hundreds of thousands of lives could be lost if this onslaught actually began. Could it begin? Well, as I say, these airstrikes are sadly nothing new. Civilians there have been terrorized over the past years. The question is, do they mark perhaps the beginning of a broader offensive on the ground, or are they potentially the Syrian and Russian side showing their military might ahead of important talks on Friday in Tehran, where they will meet with Turkey, who support some of those rebels in the Idlib enclave, and perhaps look for a diplomatic solution that, frankly, everybody seems to think is perhaps the best way out of this, because there are so many million people crammed into that large, diffuse rural area. Lynda?
All right, Nick Paton Walsh, good to have it across that story. We will come back to you shortly. Thanks so much.